Ayo, welcome back to, yeah, you missed it. You missed it, man. You missed it. It's all right. Welcome to Benchwarmers, a Woso podcast, episode 35, part 2, where you've just come from part 1 where we rinsed through the European ball. We rinsed through my champions, Manchester City, and the WSL. The beautiful game there. But now we are going to the beautiful game around the grounds. We're going to vamos to the Liga F. We're going to do these relatively quickly because these leagues have been decided, but we're going to go through the games that are important when they're important. But we'll start with Barcelona versus Levante. Levante, bottom of the table, Barca starkly at the top of the table. And this genuinely could have been 12-0. It was 5-0. Shout out to Ana Alvarez in goal for stopping some absolute pearlers with some saves. Kika should have scored a header. Aicha Kamara's header. Pina had some strikes. Sydney Schertenlieb had some strikes against the La Masia crew. They should just call it Barcelona La Masia crew for these games at the end of the season, where they just bring out the 20-year-olds, and they were on fire. Vicky Lopez with that cross shot into the top left corner, the confidence, the power, the precision. We were talking about Lauren James and Pina in the other podcast. This is the same energy, the same aura. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I will let you know when Vicky Lopez is the best player in the world, and we're really not that far away, in my opinion. But another player who will be rivaling her for that time is Claudia Pina, who is currently the top goal scorer in the Liga F. And I find it interesting that they've used Pina this way. This is what I wanted to talk about in part 1, is that Pina is someone who was absolutely quintessential. I don't think that's right. I think it's just essential, but essential in the fact that she was killing teams in Europe. She scored. She was the top goal scorer in Europe last year. She was all over it, but clearly that form hasn't presented itself this season in Europe in the same way. Not necessarily she's been poor. I just think she's not as impactful. She's not as lethal. She's not as deadly. Maybe she is a little bit purple patchy in the luck of that homing missile right foot channel strike. But I think her ability to facilitate a season of form, to be obviously player in a lot of ways player of the season for the Liga F, as with 19 goals. I think she scored her 20th in this game. But her first touch, I mean, that ball from Kika is a terrible ball, I'm not gonna lie, and she made it look so easy. She had no right to score this goal, but this is what she does. She scores goals where you just think to yourself, you know what, it's Pina. It doesn't matter how bad the ball is. It doesn't matter how far away it is. She will bury it. But I wanted to know what you thought of the fact that Pina has I guess it's a role change in the Barcelona model.
I think that it's a good thing for her establishment as one of, if not the leading footballers on the wing for one of the best teams in the world. And I think that these seasons come and they go, and we don't necessarily look to them, but players do as a signifier of that growth. So I think Pina is a player who I think we all kind of put in the category of super sub, right? So we all thought of her.
I definitely do. It was Stina and Pina. We had that joke at the start of the season, the two impact masterful players. Yeah.
And then when she went on and she started in the Champions League game, she didn't have as much impact. And then that was one of the things that I think Romeo has done very well with his man management. And I think that's the difference between players who have so much more to give. She's only 24. She's got 10 more years left in her. These seasons are going to be the ones. 15. These seasons are going to be the ones where she's played nearly 1,500 minutes in the league, where we're going to look back and be like, this was a cornerstone and a milestone season for Pina, to then have a whole season, 40 games, where she can be doing this. Because this is what happened with Lexi. This is what happened with Aitana.
Caro, the season before 23, 24, where she was quality. Yeah.
They have to grind their games. They have to grind, and they have to have their mark in the league against teams and score multiple goals in the way of the Barcelona fashion of just thrashing teams, to be able to be like, you know what, when X leaves or when Y leaves, you slot in and you're going to do it for us for 5 years consistently.
Yeah, and they're allowed blips. They're allowed blips
Mm,
in form. I'm not here saying that
of
Pina
course.
like has earned the right to be starting in a Champions League final. I think it's going to be Salma, but now that Caro is out, I don't know if it is Vicky Lopez or it is Pina, or they move Salma to the other side. Obviously, Salma can play both sides, but she's so much better on the left side, in my opinion. But Pina is so much better in a lot of ways on the right side. I think Pina is also better on the left side because then she can use her right foot to open up the space and strike that ball into the top right corner. But obviously you'll have Pina to whip that ball in on the right side with her right foot, that curving ball, which has been so deadly for them in the last few weeks. But it was Salma coming on, Aitana Bonmati having a much better introduction into this game. Obviously less pressure, less stress, probably where I thought she was going to play. I didn't know
Exactly. Yeah.
if the Bayern game was warranted, but obviously, I mean, when you're 4-1 up, you don't think that. But yes, the 100th goal for Pina from the ball from Salma. Yeah, she's just right place, right time, Pina ball. I think it's just so good when Salma is not injured and she is on, like, she knows how to hit the targets. Like, we always used to joke about Salma. She's not built of the same La Masia energy as the others, but she is. She definitely is. She's just the one that loses it when she's off form the most. I think there is an argument to say that there is the biggest drop off for Salma when she's on and when she's off of all the players in that front six, I think, and then even the replacements as a whole. But another player who's trying to build themselves into the front six is Carla Julia, who scored another goal. I think it's her sixth. I don't know how many. I
Yeah.
mean, she's going to have more goals than her age very quickly. It's not going to be long. But yeah, 15 games, 12 starts, that headed goal. I mean, a centimeter perfect cross from Vicky Lopez. Vicky Lopez can do it all anywhere on the pitch, wherever you want. She'll be in the 10. She'll be on the wing. She'll be up front at some point. We'll just see it. And then it was Sydney Shirtonleib, the classy finish. Oh my God. But yeah, it was an easy win. It was again, we've talked about the fact that this era of Barcelona is building towards the fact that this older guard are leaving, namely the big one at the end of this game announcing their decision being Mapi Leon, who's been pretty much a staple, yes, somewhat for many Woso fans who are in the zeitgeist, a somewhat controversial defender in ways that have tarnished the way I think about her. But ultimately, when you're looking strictly at the football, on the left side as a centre half, there is not many better. It is very, very hard. It is Renard and her and Irina, basically. They're probably the three that come to my head as like the most dominant, scary, like farmed, like centre backs that can just do everything and be so much more than just a defensive rock.
I think Mapi Leon is one of those players where the highlights are not just simply like turning switches in that play. Like, it's not just like she does it once and then that's it, and that's the highlight of her season, a long shot, a free kick, and that's all she's remembered for, because she does that consistently and that light is always on. And her defensive work is some of the most underrated things that I've seen in
The recovery runs.
the recovery runs, the goal line clearances. She just is of the ilk of the greats of Barcelona, men included. And I think that that's what will have her down as a legend, because there's nothing really separating her. And that's the big thing. She is a generational player, and a player that has come to define an era of Barcelona, as well as APA have in the greatness and the esteem that they are in.
Yeah, it's the same way the same way you brought up the men. So like PK and Puyol, it's Mapi and
Puyol,
Arena.
yeah.
Like Mapi and Arena will be Mapi and Arena until the next Mapi and Arena come on. And that's what it'll be. It'll be a Mapi regen. There is no other player. You're just trying to replace someone that is relatively irreplaceable. Again, you talked about like the moments don't define her. I mean, the first thing I think of when I think of her legacy is that free kick. That free kick was absolutely sublime. Top bins, shows her class as a defender who can do that. Like the things she can do, there's like you'd want that in a 6. You'd want that in an 8. Like I would love. Look, I don't want to see her at LCL. I obviously think like if Leon can get her, it's probably the better, more logical move. But if she plays for LCL, I'd like to see her not play centre back, I guess. I think
Fullback?
no, I don't want to see her play fullback either. I want to see her play higher up on the pitch. I want to see her have the chance to strike the ball well. I want to see Gioro in the 8, Mapi in the 6.
The only problem with that is I think that
they
the
need a
types of
backline.
they
Their
need
centre
a
backs are
first
terrible,
they need a
and they need
backline.
to fix it. Yeah,
But secondly, like I do think Mapi is incredibly strong, but she's
yeah,
not the type of player to, she's not technically gifted in the same way that we've seen. Like it's the same as Leah Williamson. I would never,
fair
even
enough.
even though like a lot of people like it,
Like
never
it,
stick
yeah.
her in midfield.
Yeah,
Like
like
that's just
you
not
don't want
something
to
that's gonna
you don't
happen.
want to see Mapi go up against Denise O'Sullivan. Like
No,
that's a
like
scary
that's
precedent.
no.
Yeah, that's where you get the Mapi talks, and you're just like, oh no, this is how far we've come, how much
She's
we're
not
falling
Yui
from
Hasegawa,
grace.
and that's okay.
No, no,
She's one of the best
that
centre
is
backs in the
okay.
world.
We don't need more
Yeah.
than one Yui. In fact, if there is more than one Yui, we're signing them. We've already got them. It's okay. But we will move on swiftly to Sevilla versus Real Madrid. Real Madrid doing another 2-0 to another team with another I don't understand. Like, there are just certain teams that win, and it's always the same ones for us, where they win and it's underwhelming. And it's because they can probably win 5 if they can just. I mean, if even Navarro wanted a hat trick this game, she probably could have, between the long shots she had, the crosses she was whipping in. I cannot believe Feller didn't also have a hat trick with the amount of chances she had. She did score a very decent goal at the end of the game to seal it. But also those goals just make you question how, like, is it there? Is it not there? Are you the answer? Are you
Yeah,
not? Like, how
exactly.
many purple patches do I need to decide that you're actually worthy of the praise that I give you, I guess? But, I mean, Sevilla had a few chances. I didn't think they really mounted enough pressure for a team that is on the fringes of that Liga F pack. I feel like they have thrown it away a little bit in the last few weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah,
Is it not the biggest turnaround for a team in Europe? 4 weeks, five, I'm counting bar Barcelona. Like take away the
yeah,
Barcelona result. 5 wins on the trot. They were
yeah,
edging towards third and fourth, and now
yeah.
we've lost 5 games in a row.
In
Like,
a
is that not the
row.
biggest
Yeah.
turnaround for a
To
European
team,
side?
but I mean, they came up against form sides. They came up against Logrono, who had done work 2 teams above Sevilla. They came up against
Tenerife.
Tenerife, who are better than them. They came up against Levante and Granada, who have put pressure on them in terms of the fact that Granada was who they were fighting against, and Granada have put in a shift of form,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see what happens next week when Granada play Sociedad, who we'll talk about in a bit. But it was, yeah, Sarah Dabritz doing her thing again. It's another thing where the players turn up, they kind of do, but it's not amazing. I think Redondo is worthy of praise in this game for that goal. That is the most Redondo pilled goal I've seen. It's an average, like, slow moving ball, and
Yeah.
she's the fastest to react. She reacts to it perfectly. She breaks free, front channel, takes the near post. And Navarro, I actually really like Navarro. She makes really meaningful, inviting chances. There's something, I don't know, there's something Lynn Vilms about her where she's just whipping the ball, and, like, yeah, there's a bit of hidden hope about it, but at least she's trying something. Like, it's not just the fact that she's hitting and hoping. There is placement to her crosses and there is ideas. It's just the ability to track back, the ability that she's been caught out in Champions League games, namely against Barcelona, where it is more stark and more contrasting, but ultimately that right side is not the problem at Real Madrid, and the left side will be, and that's why they're after Niamh Charles. But the big problem is the 9. They just, again, it's a big problem in Woso as a whole, finding that clinical 9 that's going to click for your team and facilitate good chances. I mean,
Bunny Shaw.
Caroline, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're
That's
just
the
going to
whole
say
bit for the
bunny to
podcast.
everyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
every team needs a Bunny Shaw. They don't grow on trees, these strikers that score 20 a season. But I do think it is a situation where they are building towards. I mean, Linda Caicedo is playing in the 9 at some points. Fella's playing in the 9. They're switching it over. They've tried Iris Santiago. They've tried a few others. They've tried Comendador. Like, they need just someone to steady the ship in that realm. But they will get it. I think they will eventually get someone that works for them and works for Caroline Weir as well, because I mean, Caroline Weir's form drop off, in my opinion, has been quite stark and quite underwhelming. We're talking about literally 2 goal contributions in the last month. Yeah, it's not looking good for her last 10, 12 games, especially for club and country, where she just hasn't got enough out of her games. And you have to go back to the 1st of February before she was actually delivering on the ways that we know Caroline Weir can. But that's the big one, is facilitating a striker that works for the people around them as well.
I feel like if we move on to Sociedad,
Oh,
Real Madrid doesn't have an identity really.
yeah.
Sociedad
Yeah,
does,
they do.
and the way that Sociedad came back in this game, the way that
Oh.
it was an early goal, 1 minute
Mate,
in
that
Deportivo.
goal, that's goal of the
It was the
season right
goal
there.
of the season,
Yeah. Oh my
easily, and
God. Barbara.
that's a
Barbara
galvanizing
La
goal.
Torre. No, that was a
Galvanizing
strike.
goal.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
galvanizing goal. And I think that the way, look, it took a half, right?
Mhm.
It took a half for them to get
Yeah.
back. But that's the difference. That's why I personally want Sociedad to be able to topple the duopoly of Real Madrid and it was Atletico. Because I think it's important to recognize that these teams are building upon identity and upon genuine ambition to, in this case, try and get Champions League football, which would be
Mm.
massive.
Yeah, and look, they made mistakes. They could have gone 2-0 down
Hmm.
as well. It was very quick. They were getting outworked, but this is the genius. This is the management. This is like Casada versus Ruiz. We can talk about the players, and you can do a combined 11 of Real and Sociedad. Hilarious. But obviously you will end up probably with more Real Madrid players. But Ruiz will definitely be in there because that first half they were so aggressive on possession. They had like 56% possession. They were trying to hold the ball, trying to command the game, like whether their storm of press and facilitate their own chances, but they couldn't do it. And this Deportivo side were pressing hard. They were creating chances. And then what did Arturo Ruiz do in that second half? They gave up possession. They had less possession than Deportivo in the second half. They went from 56% possession to 44% possession to facilitate their own counters. And they used the right side. Emma Ramirez driving through. Ezeguirre, that dummy, is like feeding my takes to generations. That ball dummied through to Paula Fernandez, who whips it into that far corner to we're 1-1 to equalize. You're on this run. You've got all the energy in it. They were fighting back. Deportivo La Coruna, definitely hats off to them. They played really, really well. Esperanza Pizarro, who is a Uruguayan international, hitting the corner of the woodwork from that like edge of the box spot. It was a great strike. It was it was a Clara Bull-esque shot that got saved. And then it was Emma Ramirez again, terrorizing the right side. Another drilled ball that Cecilia Marcos got on the end of, struck it low, struck it hard, bottom left corner that sealed UWCL qualification for Sociedad. The scenes post-match were mental. Shout out to the goalie. I mean, I think it's Arula. She was like apologizing to the players about the goal that she copped. I'm like, mate, you copped a worldie. That's not your fault. But they are on 60 points this season. And this is the all-important question for you, Allegra. 25-26 Sociedad versus 22-23 Aston
Yeah.
Villa. Who is what like we've seen both. Who do we think is the better side?
I think for the fact that they've made Champions League football and for the
Yeah.
fact that they've been able to take over someone like an Atleti, be able to match up with teams that have already been in and around it in terms of Liga F, but also the fact that, as we said before, I genuinely think if they can get that last result, those last two results, they'll be able to overtake Real
It
Madrid.
would be mental.
This
Absolute
team,
scenes.
this team, chuck Rachel Daly in it, could be any mid-team table team, could probably even get to a qualification to the final stages of a Champions League in terms of beating
I mean,
the
knockout stages.
the
Yeah.
knockout
Getting
stages.
into the
Thank you.
knockout
Yes.
stages,
Yeah.
100%. Well, I mean, the part that I'm going to say with the Rachel Daly thing, obviously Rachel Daly is probably better than a Cecilia Marcos or a
Mm.
Lavogues, right? But this team had Edna Imade in it,
Yeah,
right? This
exactly.
team
Yeah.
had Imade. They lost Imade
Mm.
and they've held their form and they're unbelievable. It's so amazing to watch them. They are one of my favorite teams to watch in Woso at the moment and have been pretty much all season. Imade is still the third highest goal scorer in the Liga F right now, which is insane, by the way. The fact that she hasn't played for them since like January the 10th is absolutely mental when the fact that they've still kept scoring goals, they've still kept their form high. Yes, they lost to Real Madrid, but that was a while ago. They're unbeaten for a while, and they only lose to teams, and they've beaten teams better than them. So they
Barcelona.
beat
Yeah.
Barcelona. That was the big one, and that was
Mm.
Imade Magic. But
And that's the last
I
game of the
think
season as
yeah,
well.
I
So it's
think yeah,
huge.
exactly. It's going to be Barcelona are definitely going to like they're going to try and put out their kids, but they might actually put out a few like generals in there to make sure that they can stamp their authority over this league. I mean, it is not an invincible season, but it doesn't mean they can't go up in the fact that their goal difference, Barcelona's goal difference is just the most
114, right?
generational thing
Crazy.
I've ever seen. Yeah, they're going after City's charges, that right? It's pretty mental. But we will finish with the last game in the Liga F, which is Atleti beating Eibar 4-0 at home. The domestic side has turned up to form when it's not on the table anymore. You had Menayo, who was injured,
Mm.
celebrating her player of the month while injured. And don't get me wrong, the music was vibing and everything was great. But I mean, the first half was just classic athletic, low percentage attacking display, absolute rubbish. Jensen being Jensen, Jensen and Fiamma Benitez getting saved onto the cross eye bar. See what I did there?
Nice.
I just had to do that. I just
Fair
had to
enough.
do that. It was right there. But Gallardo made a point blank save for what again we've also coined as athletic ball defending. They just look disciplineless and cagey, but it was the second half, the super sub second half. This is what Atleti have turned into. They have to bring on Gio and Luani for Oterman and Chinchilla. And this is the only take I've pretty much gotten wrong where I kind of thought Chinchilla would be the one who Prisco could be the one who just does it for them and like is the clinical one, but they brought on Gio and Luani and they did the business. And it was Boa Reese's ball to Jensen. The first one saved, the second one hits the post. Jensen, my God, it's so painful. It's so painful watching this goal. If anyone wants to see the most painful goal that sums up Athletic season, it's this one where Jensen shoots from 6 yards, gets saved. Second effort hits the post, and then the third is taken by Gio after the rebound off the post, and it goes in, and the floodgates were open. So then Luani gets brought down in the box with some classic Yoga Benito work. Boa Risa's penalty, very, very good. And then Bartel scores this sliding strike that I
Mm.
can only ascribe to moments in my life where I've played FC and I get so angry because I see this sliding strike animation. I go, this doesn't exist in the world of football. No one ever does this. And I've watched Bartel fall
Mm.
over mid shot and it goes in and she's just laughing when she
Stina
scored. I'm like,
Blackstenius exists, Ben. Like we've seen
no,
this
but
before.
Stina, but Stina is different because she hits the ball and then falls over. Yeah,
No, no,
yeah, she
no,
hits. No, no, no,
no.
no, 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 no. I think Stina, the development of Stina
Mm.
Blackstenius's of her game is that she's gone from a player who used to fall over while shooting to fall over after shooting, in my
Fair
opinion.
enough.
Whereas
Fair
this is she is falling and then shoots, and that it's more like a Tony Payne-esque shot.
enough.
Like that's what I'm thinking of. But Bartel gets the third one. Athletic street ball on display with Luani here again. She's so good off the bench. It's a shame, but we know what happens when she's starting. And Gio gets her brace from some terrible play out the back, and she rounds the keeper. Deserved win, sixth consecutive win in the league for Atleti, but in many ways still the word I use to describe them is unfulfilling and kind of rage bait in a way. Like they are just good when it doesn't matter and very, very lackluster when it really actually matters for them.
I don't get many takes right from the start of the season, but I do think that my mid-season take about subbing Luani, Bartel, Gio, these players who just weren't doing it, and I
Nailed it.
think bringing the standard of the game down, especially when they themselves were basically clocking off way too early in a game, meant that they come on and they have a point to prove. And this is what Herrera has done. He's come in mid-season, not a easy job to do for a struggling athletic
Jose.
team. And not only is he getting them wins, but emphatic wins. 4 goals is something that we saw at the start of the season. And keeping, by the way, a clean sheet, something Atletico Madrid are
Yeah.
atrocious
I was
at and like
expecting
notoriously
4-1.
bad at.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and to be fair, if this should not be the blueprint going forward. Like you shouldn't be having to bench your best players, as I've mentioned before. But if it's going to get them and the team results, then keep it for the rest of the season and then have
Mm.
like a genuine like reality check next
Yeah.
season and either bring in players that you think can start and play for 90 minutes
Yeah.
or like actually whip them into shape and have a preseason where
I'm
you work on mentality.
Yeah, it makes them look like, oh, you can only play against players when they have 60 minutes of tiredness in
Yeah.
them, and then Luani can start yoga bonitoing all
Exactly.
over the
Yeah.
place. But we will leave the Liga F behind, and we will move into the Bundes
Mm.
that's already decided, so we will skip through this as well. Bayern and Hoffenheim. Actually, a big game where Hoffenheim held Bayern to a draw. I mean, this was a rotated 11 of the ages where, I mean, obviously a top four clash, but they kind of went with this second team depth. And I kind of understand it, but they just don't have the depth of a Barcelona where
Yeah.
it like sits the same way. And that's clearly what Hoffenheim were going after, where Serchi just penalized on it, and Valeska Amporta, who is an unbelievable Belgian international. She just starts every time for Belgium. She's basically the Woso Yuri Tillemans there. Like, her stocks are high. I think she's a good player. Top four club in the Bundes. I think she's definitely got to get to it. I mean, if she went to a WSL club or an Italian club, a lot of Belgians love playing in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. But I could, like, my joke about Yuri Tillemans is that I see her going to like Arsenal and then Porter as like a sub. She fails at Arsenal and then goes to Villa, and then she's unreal. So she's just in that Jenna
So
Nyswanger
just
like
basically
realm.
Jenna Nice-Longer.
Yeah,
Great.
but
Okay.
yeah, if
Awesome.
Jenna Nyswanger was a Belgian, basically. Yeah, Nyswanger with a double O. That's what it is. But Serchi's ball, Porter's ball, Serchi rounding the keeper.
Mm.
It's a beautiful goal. Vanessa Shields was the only big chance in that first half. Like, in my opinion, that was testing Laura Johanna Dick. And it was that header from Shields. Where was this? Where was this in the Barcelona game? Like, your aerial threatness, that was so good. But Marmutovic was left stranded, 1-0 up. I kind of thought that they'd hold this 1-0 with the way in which they were attacking. I think it was a poor clinic of attacking display, and maybe it was one of those days, but dealing with two banks of four, a team that doesn't really play against much two banks of four, to be honest, with a rotated squad is tough, and they had stuff to deal with, but they had to bring on the goats. They had to bring on Clara Ball. They had to bring on Pernilla Harder, and it was eventually Magdalena Eriksson at the back post. I mean, shout out to Marmutovic for recovering this ball. So it was a corner from Bull. It got whipped out, and then Marmutovic runs after it, gives it back to the left side, who gets it to Bull, and then Bull whips that ball in. And I mean, I just kind of like the vibes that when she scored, the audio was the can, so they're just playing the can in the back. It was good. It was good gear. It was a game that obviously had less jeopardy in it, but the lack of clinical attacking display from Bayern's second squad basically proves that they are just behind the Titans of Barca and Leon when it comes to utilizing their depth in games that obviously don't matter, but like build up your back half, your depth that you want to bat deep and be like, you want to make other sides fear you. And I think that was kind of the talk after that second leg where they were like, wow, but Bayern are this European powerhouse in the making. It's like, well, no, all their players are 30. All their players are 30, 32. Like, Harder has got time left. All these players have time left. But the second squad, if you take out Tanikawa and Marmutovic, and the average age of this squad is 30. So you need to build up your youngsters, the Carusos, the Imades, the Kets. Like, these players need to be a part of the process of building up this team, the Armanis. Like, they need to do it so that the second squad can hold up and build into it and then support in Champions League stages in next seasons to come.
If I take a more selfishly positive perspective on this, watching this as an Arsenal fan was
Yes.
incredibly enthusiastic because I was seeing
Searchy goal,
Georgia
searchy goal.
I was seeing, yeah, I was seeing Georgia Stanway create 7 incredible chances, the most chances of any player on the pitch. I was then also seeing Serchi being able to compete against a top European side, a side that, competed against Barcelona in a semi-final. So to me, this is proving my hypothesis last week, which was, can Serchi do it against top teams? She can. And to be fair to her, she has proven it in the last 2 seasons. But it's about Georgia Stanway. This is a player that did not have a good game in the Champions League semi-final, second leg. She came back in this game, started, which I was surprised at because I thought, would this be more of like an Ariana Caruso type game where she holds the midfield? But it was actually Stanway, and I think that to her credit, she played incredibly well. And this is the type of games that I don't really know how she'll play for Arsenal. It's an enigma. I'm still interested to see how we mold her into the squad, but it's about her versatility. It's about the fact that in this game she was able to create. And to be fair to her, in the first leg of the Champions League game, she was able to stabilize and hold a midfield that is not the same level, I believe, as Arsenal's incredible midfield, if I say so myself.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I think when they're on, ultimately she will be. I don't know if you're playing in a midfield three. I don't.
Mm,
You've signed on Little, so I don't
yeah.
think you're going to use them in rotation. I expect one of them to stay back and one of them to go forward, and maybe that is Kim Little going further forward and Georgia Stanway being that quarterback, which I think she's, in my opinion. Like, look, Stanway's forward presence is amazing, but I think this quarterback role for her is unbelievable because
Yeah,
the way she
exactly.
spreads the ball. And I do kind of put her in the likes of the Patries of the world, where
Mm,
she isn't that far away from them, in my opinion. And in some ways, for many people in international games, she's ahead of them. She eclipses them. She works harder than them and puts them to the test and to the ringer and comes out the victor in a lot of ways. And that's the power of Serena, but it's also her at the helm of that midfield. And without her, they do look absolutely lost in that Lionesses midfield. We didn't even really talk about that foul on Stanway that ended up with the goal
mm,
for Barcelona. I did think that Stanway did foul her. Like, I did think she did foul Putellas, but a lot of people just said Putellas ran into her and she got clobbered. I'm like, okay, well, Stanway is talented enough to not just run into a
mm.
player like willy-nilly. But ultimately, yeah, you definitely have every right to look at this game as a very good advertisement for what your season will look like next season in comparison to VFL, who are still drunk, in my opinion. They're still hanging by a thread in a lot of ways. They were very lucky against Leipzig, and it took a super sub performance of dreams from Latvine, the
Yeah.
headed machine. But it was very interesting. Some of the goals in this game were absolutely wild. Namely, I mean, the goal that they scored to open the game, Leipzig, that
Mm.
goal from, I'm going to get this wrong, but Chmielinski, the goal from her where I believe it was Lisa Balmer who absolutely cooked Camilla
Mm.
Kuva. And obviously she must be low on confidence because this was not happening at the start of the season. But this German centre mid's just absolutely getting on the back of this chance. And then Wolfsburg were doing the athletic ball. They were taking chance on chance. Keelan's long shot scuffs the outside of the post, and then Voloto gets saved, and then Bierenstein. No, it's not how do you miss that? It's why does this happen so often? But yeah, I do envy who gets Bierenstein at the end of the season, and I do envy Villa for the team getting again. Like, I just do only see her at Villa, and if she doesn't
Fair.
go to Villa, I'm going to be disappointed in Villa. Like she has to. Like, we were talking about, every team needs Bunny Shaw. One team does need Lineth Berenstein, and some reason I see her at two teams. I see her at Villa, but I also see her at Real Madrid. But we
The
don't know
options
where.
just
Yeah,
come.
we don't know where she goes. But ultimately, we know what her best is, and this game was a bit tough. But it was the angle of dreams from Janina
Mm.
Minga. This comms that I got, I don't know if you got the same comms, but
Mm.
this Scottish, Irish, British comms guy, I don't know where he's from. Usually I do know the British accents quite well, but the comms were unreal, and there was no right to score this. There was swaz on this strike. I think the keeper has to read it better, but also how
Mm.
can you read something that you're not expecting in that way? But it was Latvine who came on and did the business, and despite the fact that Chmielinski got a brace with an Olympico of dreams, this is an Olympico, by the way, no bounce into the goal, get done, Stina. Like, that was it. Like, it was done. But 3-2, it didn't change the outcome, but very admirable. And look, VFL have pretty much solidified second with that. It's not like 100% set in stone, but it is good to be back on winning ways, I guess.
You talked about Bernstein and her eventual move. I am really dogged on Minga going to Bayern. I think that that has to be the
Wow.
move for her.
Well, you
And
think
it's
that
not
just dumps VFL like
uh,
completely, in my opinion.
completely, but it's not rogue traditional rivalry in this sense. It's not
Oh,
necessarily
yeah.
taboo to
Harder,
go
harder.
to
Yeah,
other. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So to me, Minga is the answer for the Stanway-less Bayern. She obviously plays with a lot of those German internationals in the side, but I think that what Bayern are really missing is as a left-sided midfielder who can run backwards and forward and create fantastic goal opportunities like she did in this game. She's a game winner. She's a game differentiator. She's also the type of player who's so versatile. You can put her in centre back and she'll do
I was
equally
I
as
was
much
gonna
as the
say
other.
I know you said she's a midfielder. In my head, she's a centre half. That's why I didn't
For
think Bayern
Germany,
would go for
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 Germany,
go
I
for
think
it.
yes. For
Yeah.
Germany, I think yes. For the national team, yes. But she has played this advanced role in the Bundesliga for a few seasons now, and I think that she's exceptional playing with a winger who is equally able to match the balls that she puts through. A fast winger, a winger who can
Penalty
in that
taker as well.
yeah, but a winger who can, in essence, also come back and support her because one of the things about Minga and about Bayern is that support system. They need midfielders who have the trust of the players around them to be able to go forward. And I think
Mm.
she is a difference maker. I think most of the best players in this Wolfsburg team need to leave, but that's something we've been very adamant about for most of the season.
Oh,
You're not changing the flow.
you have been adamant about. I think ultimately, like if Wolfsburg are going to be anything, they have to keep her there. Like she's the general at the back. She's the general, even if she plays in those advanced positions, she's the one retreating back. She's the one working the hardest. It's her and Linda, and yes, it's Volodo and Zakai and Bussy all being a part of the next generation of VFL. But yes, you're right. They need to reinvest and they need to reshape this spine and they need to reshape again a Alex Pop shaped hole in the front line that is still not being replaced in a way where, like, again, you're talking about Searchy to Arsenal. Why is VFL not going after this kind of player?
Well,
This
they
is
were,
the
weren't they? They were,
yeah,
a 10
they were
inch
linked, but rumors. Yeah,
away.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it's one of those things I don't want Minga to spend 215 odd games like Huth has, winning just one, what, the FB Pokal and a league. Like a couple, I should say, sorry. Like this is the time for Wolfsburg players to become the type of German internationals that seek moves outside of
The
Germany
Yul Brand
because
move.
the Eula Brand move was one that was inspired. Obviously, now we see the fruits of that. But I want a German international in the WSL who plays 30 games a season and is one of the best midfielders in the world.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Or
Yeah,
in the
it's
same,
Georgia Stanway.
yes, the
Georgia
adopted
Stanway is
German
coming back with a
Georgia
Deutsche passport. Yeah, Georgia
Georgia
Stanway.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. But we will talk about Frankfurt, who, I mean, I for one would not want to be a Nuremberg fan, especially when Rasso is cooking you
Rasso, did
on
you
your
see the
own
post
field.
on the Matildas? It was like
Yes,
Rasso's
of
first
course.
goal.
Rasso's first goal in the Google
Yeah.
Pixel Frauen Bundesliga for Frankfurt to seal the deal. 4-1, 3-1 to 4-1. That's when you want to play at a score. But now let's talk about Anyomi, who should be the replacement strike. The way you talk about Bunny Shaw is the way teams should talk about Anyomi. You need to sink Anyomi. If you're Real Madrid or Villa would be amazing with Anyomi. That's the kind of player that Vilms. Imagine Vilms whipping that ball into Anyomi at the near post. Like I would be scared of that, but. It didn't start off particularly well, despite the Becky Blomqvist ball to Anyomi that was easily equalised by Gumstar, who received a ball from a former Benchwarmer Super Sub of the
Yeah.
Week, Emoke Papai,
Mm.
Hungarian international, who took on not one, not two, not three, but four Frankfurt players. The last one being a Hezi, and then played the ball to Gumstar, who scored, delivered that assist. But it was Anyomi receiving another perfect ball, this time from Lerson. Lerson has been a very much under the radar left back for Frankfurt, who has 8 assists this season. Just great stuff from her on that left side. And then it was a lot of pressure on Altenberg from Papai Gumstar, who did a lot of work, but it was the 89th minute where the super subs of dreams in Laura Freigang and Hayley Rasso come on. Freigang's chip and Rasso's hezzy dribble and low driven perler get them the 4-1 that they need. A comfortable win at home that keeps them in VFL's grasp. I think it is an admirable season in ways from a league standpoint in terms of pushing them. But again, it will fall on deaf ears on the fact that they got absolutely rinsed in that Europa Cup semi-final leg, and they needed to be better. They needed to hold up stronger, and ultimately we talk about this season as just a league effort ultimately.
Yeah, and if the key players are to leave, then this will be a season of major disappointment. Not having a trophy to recognize the likes of Reutela, Sens, Freigang, and Naomi, like these players,
Mametti, who's also linked as
Mametsi, I was
well.
just about to say, yeah, these players deserve to have something for Frankfurt, and this team was, in many ways, to the keen Woso observers, the team to watch going
Mm.
into Europe, going into the Bundesliga, and they haven't matched that. I don't necessarily think it's all to do with play. I think a lot of it to do with mentality. We talked about how losing the opportunity to enter a Champions League is one that really hits a team. I saw it with Arsenal back in 23, 24. We won a Conti Cup because we had the accessibility to do it. Unfortunately, Frankfurt cannot match the likes of Bayern and Wolfsburg, especially in League Cups. So to me, the best thing that they can do and the best thing that they can try and do is keep as many players as possible. And if they
Mm.
don't, then it's about the rebuild and about how they can continually try and match, if anything, Wolfsburg in that second place.
100%. And we will see it ultimately. We
Mm.
will see if they go bullish on and aggressive in the transfer
Mm.
market, or if they don't and have
Bunny Shaw.
accepted their Anyomi. Oh wait, they've still got they've already got that. It's actually the one team that doesn't need a Bunny Shaw,
True,
actually. They
true.
actually need
Fry
the other
gang.
side of the field to
Mm.
do that. But we will move to Calcio Ball. We'll move to the Femminile, where the Femminile was wrapped up here
Mm.
now and then by Roma, who did it in the most, I mean, likely, unlikely ways, depending on how you call it. Roma doing what they do best, which is just shielding
Mm.
Giuliano until she's dead, or
Yeah.
or better yet, transferred.
Please.
But yes, Giuliano and a bit of luck. I mean, a bit of UWCL magic. Am I right? Just was that
Yeah.
trauma? Was that traumatizing for you watching that after the UWCL to see another retaken penalty? But yes, Ternana, who were quite impressive away from home in ways, they did
Mm.
facilitate one really good chance, that long shot from, I believe it was Pirone, the strike that caught Baldi off
Mm.
guard, and it was saved very well. But this, I mean, this was Ternana defensive energy aura. I did love what they were bringing. I mean, this is the culture ball. This is, I was explaining this to my dad. My dad was
Mm.
telling me that football was invented in England. I'm like, well, culture ball goes back earlier than England, if you ask me. So in my head, football originated in, I mean, in Italy and China, if you're going to go that far back. But it is still Calcio, and it will always be Calcio. And I think, I mean, the best player who sums up Calcio is Manuela
Mm.
Giuliano, who struck that penalty so well that it got saved and retaken because she was off her line, and then she absolutely packed in the second one. That was a
Mm.
great. See, that's how you do it. I mean,
Yeah.
Renard kind of had aura on that because she did the same thing, but this was changing sides, ripped the ball into the other side. And then I mean, we can talk about the goal that she ended up scoring as well, that volley and a half that was delicious off the back of the Evelyn Veens header. Congratulations on Evelyn Veens getting an assist, because the chances of her scoring in
Can
any
we
game.
can we
Yeah, do
talk
you want to
about
break
this?
this down? Do you want to
Thank
break
you.
this down? Go for
I've
it.
done some research
Yeah.
on the Stina region Veens. I
Regen.
think I think that there has to be a reckoning for Roma. I think that they've won the league, but I think
Yeah.
that there are key players that do need to either find form going into next season to retain the Scudetto or move on. And I think Veens is one of those players who's on that precipice because look, she has had 3 goals this campaign after 44 shots and 22 on target in 20 games. She scores per 90 0.18 times from her 2.63 average shots. This might be the worst ratio of any striker in the top European league.
This
And
might be
there's
the worst ratio I've ever heard in my
Yes, there's
life.
nothing that we can say watching the games. We watch them weekly that we can say that is in the way of Veen scoring goals. It is just herself. She's her own worst enemy in front of goal. 1v1, she might be the worst striker
Mm,
in terms of a player who we expect to score, only
mm,
probably surpassed by Jensen, who is equally horrendous in front of goal
mm,
1v1. But Veen's as the striker of this Roma side that is heavily reliant upon a midfield of Dragoni and Giuliano, and at some stages Harvey, who's just come
mm,
back. It's disappointing because I think in Juventus teams of the past, Girelli has been there. Girelli is the striker. She is the captain, spiritual or otherwise, of this
mm,
team. Unfortunately, we have in this case a player who is just not reaching the level of the team around her. And
mm.
if it weren't for the run of form that Inter had at the start of the season, which did not match the end of the season, I genuinely believe that Tessa Woolhart would have been a bigger factor in Inter potentially even beating Roma to this Scudetto. All I can say is Giuliano is the best player in Serie A. She's their best player Roma's ever had in the women's team, and she has won this game, this league, off her own boot.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. And I wonder if she'll even get a Ballon nomination. I'm very
I'll give it
curious
to
of how
her.
they, yeah, I
I'll
mean,
give it
we will,
Leggy
we
door.
100% will. Yeah, no, Leggy Dior to Manu. But I mean, look, there were some good moments in this game between Veens. And I mean, like, yeah, I literally wrote, she's the Puteus of this team. She has commanded the respect. And like, you like, I genuinely think after she scored that second goal, she should have bowed. Like, she should have done the Puteus.
No,
Like,
I like the
honestly. No, the
Dybala-esque kind
Dybala,
of.
yeah, I get it, I get it, and like, don't worry, there'll be edits in like 20 years' time when Roma have like some ball and I'll do another baby I'm back edit, and it'll go back to Manu doing that, and like, she is just a machine, like she's scarily good at both sides of the pitch. I don't understand why. Like, I mean, if I mean, we'll get to
Francesco
where I
Totti.
want, yeah, yeah,
It's
where I
Francesco
want her
Totti
to
all
be,
over again.
but again, it's more than that because we need her to leave. We didn't need
Yeah,
Totti
true.
to leave because Calcio was amazing when Totti was there, and then he was the remnants of he never wanted to leave. And maybe that is the case for Giuliano, but we will never know until she decides that she's going to wrap her career up at Roma and decide to sign that long-term contract. But I did love that. Shout out to the indirect free kick that happened at the end of this
Oh,
game.
that's my
That was
favorite. That's
that
my
was fun. Yeah,
favorite
that was
free
very
kick of
cool. I
the
mean,
day.
back past, inside the box, great goalkeeping as well. Clean sheet and win. This felt like a 1-0, but it was a 2-0. But there was a 1-0 for the confirmed second place team in a Milan derby, AC versus Inter. And it was Haley Buhega, my Maltese go low driven strike. Please don't leave. Just enjoy Europe. Play Euroball. Play UWCL next year. See how many finishes it takes for those CBS Golazo girls to glaze you until you get the move you deserve. Because ultimately, now the eyes will be on you. This is where Inter have to use this season as the stepping stone to get closer to Roma, to get closer to Juve. Because next year, Juve are going to go for a domestic treble. They're out of Champions League contention now. They are going to go for the domestic treble. And basically anything less than the league for Juve is innate depression. Like, they are just going to be absolutely crucified if they don't get it. The only thing I didn't like, Buhega, is that you did a Michael Jackson celebration, and I'm not a fan of that. But
The
it
story
was
Irankunda.
yeah. What are we doing? Yeah. What are my two goats? What are my two goats in these two sides doing where they're glazing this guy? But anyway, AC were they were okay. I think they had moments. I feel like Dompig probably should have scored that goal. I don't know how she didn't score that, but also then the other one where Milinkovic dog zoned, Milinkovic bunge, am I right? But generational aura from Milinkovic. Dompig was so angry, and this is
It's
Calcio ball.
Calcio ball.
This is
Yeah.
unbelievable. Do what you have to do to hold on. The tackle was perfect. They didn't score from it. They secured UWCL. Who cares if you don't play next week? The week before you scored a brace. You've done your job. You are the best centre half in the league right now, the way you're going about it. They won 1-0 as Calcio as it gets, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't convincing, but they need to be more miserly than Roma, and they need to invest in more forward stonks, especially if they're going going to play UWCL, it can't just be Tessa Valler and co. I think their midfield is packed. I think their midfield is fine. They will have the ability to rotate. It is just solidifying the back line and solidifying the front stock, so it's not just Buhaga and Polly and Tessa. It needs to be one more. They need someone solidified. And ultimately, I think they need to go abroad. They need to go to a player that they trust. But ultimately, I think this game was quite interesting in the sense of a Milan derby, the energy around it and making sure that they can solidify the double over them, which they definitely did now. And I am very impressed with the fact that they have held their own against Juve, a Juve side that are clutching at straws. I mean, they clutched at straws against Napoli, a 5-goal thriller, getting the overs. That was a chaotic first 25 minutes where there was 4 goals split 2 apiece. Anna Capetta, my third best signing of the January, the top 3. It's her, Falk, and Smiller, but she spreaded it wide to Lindsay Thomas, who does the crot, the Amy Sayer crot, and finds the side netting for the opener. But it was Napoli's left side. Shout out to Sassorini, Napoli's coach, who saw Juve's Achilles heel for what it is, which is that left side of Thomas, or the right side of Thomas and Lenzini. They slashed through it, and it was beautiful interplay with Bellucci and Kozak, and then Kozak plays it to Banusic, and it's a goal, and they equalize, and then Capetta comes in and deals with this blunder for Beretta that I can only ascribe as a Karius moment. Just kicked it into the player. It was Leicester City-esque. It was horrendous work. It was really bad. And then the instant reply from Napoli to do it again, and this time it was interplay with Giordano and Cecilia Fleur, that same side, that same corner. They played it to the back post. It was 2-2. Juve kept taking chances. Cambaji, Capetta, Bonansea, all trying to get the winner, doing Juve Atleti ball, the same thing. The Vansguard, basically the Juve Veens, who plays that ball to Krumbeigel. They both got an assist this week, so shout out to the pseudo Steeners, but Krumbeigel opens up her foot, plays it past Beretta, gets the win. They hold on to a spot probably in Europe ball, but not in the UWCL, probably in the Europa Cup if it plays out how we think we will. But that is all we really have for the Femminile as we jump into the Arkema. The Arkema sets up another precedent of playoffs, which is interesting. So we will jump into this quick with Lyon beating Montpellier with their roster of children again, average age of 20 months. Like it's so young. They're so young. It doesn't matter. But it was Corbin Albert, probably the oldest player on the pitch, picking up the ball for Juve from a player I haven't watched before, this 20-year-old Duvier. I think she was quite decent this game. Schrader's strike was always going to go in. It didn't matter that it was close to the keeper. It was hit so hard. But the second goal was a ripper, that ball from Besho and Romain Rafalski. I obviously love Besho. I talk about her all the time. Yeah. But Rafalski is definitely looking, every game she gets minutes, every game she gets more and more, she looks more and more confident. She's definitely a player to watch. Hopefully next season she really springs into her stride, and it's not like a situation where she ends up at straight swap with Claudinha Martinez, I guess. That would be the easy way to do it if I was Kang. That's that Kang Padul Gaines punishment kind of vibe. But pot shots were just going at, Belhaj had a lot of pot shots to deal with. And also so did Montpellier's goalie had to deal with that too. But the third goal was Lilia Harness doing Lilia Harness things, and except playing the ball to Ash Lawrence. I did not see that on the cards.
That was incredible, by the way. What a move. Maybe the antidote for the Ash Lawrence conundrum in midfield, or I should say defense, is that she plays.
So you just think she's the right-sided Baltimore, basically.
Well, it's kind of interesting that they're playing, yes, traditional wingers in Rafalski as a child in right wing, when maybe they should be trying the Smiller Holmberg effect on Ash Lawrence. Maybe. Player in right wing, try it out.
I mean, look, Iman Bene is a similar story,
Yeah,
but I think
true.
Iman is just more based on versatility rather than just being that aggressive
Well,
right-sided
I just
player.
don't think that Ashley Lawrence is going to last that long at Leon. She is their
I mean,
weakest point.
she's going to be a starting right back in the Champions League final very, very soon, which is
So,
a mental
so
thing to say.
fascinating.
I can't believe we're saying that with so
Just
much
chuck
conviction.
Sombath or Tarsien or someone else,
I would
please.
not trust Alice Sombath in the Champions League final. Sorry, Alice. You want leggies in Wonderland right now. But yeah, Leon did cop a goal to
Mm,
Judith Coquet. And they
yeah.
should have had one 10 minutes before. Blanc had a
Mm.
1v1, but Belhaj saved it with her foot diving the wrong way. So it was impressive. But a 3-1 win is a 3-1 win. These games don't really matter for them. But again, it's that same thing we talk about with the academies earning the pedigree, earning the players'
Stripes.
experience. Yeah, exactly. They're getting these players the experience they need. The same way that we're going to talk about PSG, who for the third week in a row, it's 2-0 again, ole ole. 2-0 again, 2-0 again, 2-0 again, ole ole. They are hilarious. Just pick two players, they're going to score and they don't concede. But
Mm.
this game, the only thing that's interesting, obviously Lukta was going to score in this game because he didn't
Yeah.
score last game. But this goal, baby.
Mm.
Mbok, who knew that Mbok's idol growing up was James Rodriguez? That goal is crazy. So
Yeah.
Graziani, my aura farming queen, at PSG, the only PSG player I actually like, gets the recovery from the clearance, plays it to the best player in France's entire history, which is Karchaoui. Karchaoui whips it. When I say France, I mean PSG's player, and she whips it in, and it's this long, heavy ball. I'm thinking of like, there's no player that can take this down. I was wrong. Mbok chests it down, volleys it in near post. What the hell am I watching? No real celebration from Paulo Cesar. What are you going to celebrate if that's going in and your center half is doing that? That was just the most mental goal I've seen in a while from PSG at least. But look, Merps made a few saves. Amber Barrett really tested Merps. There was a chip from
Mm.
distance that was very, very Merps was very lucky not to get packed in there. Hit the bar and went out. They also hit the post again from a header and a set piece, and then Isabella and Kanjinga doing well to get the follow-ups out. But it was the long ball from Dudek to Lukta, who gets Lukta one-on-one, but it's not really one-on-one, but it didn't matter. She saw the keeper off her line, chips the keeper. It's just Dutch world-class
Mm.
forward. Like there are moments where I'm watching Lukta and I genuinely think there are like remnants of Viv in the way she attacks the football. Like I think that was a very Viv-esque goal.
Mm.
But yeah, just a ripper game to be fair from PSG doing what they do best, which is not conceding and scoring 2 goals.
I wonder whether a PSG rejigging of this system, of this side, will possibly encourage even more of the best of what we've seen from PSG. So
Mm.
I'm saying, I don't know whether the likes of Ken Jinga will stay. I don't know whether the likes of Lukta should even stay. And I put emphasis on should because we've talked about how possibly the best of PSG could be the best of anywhere else in the world, right? And so to me, right now, I'm looking at PSG and I'm going, get as much out of these players as possible because
Mm.
the likelihood is that they are going to leave. This is not, I believe, this is not a PSG side that is heritage football worthy. Like, you know, Katoto was easily able to go to Lyon, their biggest rivals, just like that. Like, if, in all honesty, if Lyon didn't have the midfield that they did have, Karchaoui would have probably been at Lyon 2, 3 years ago at this
True.
point. So right now, PSG, they didn't have a good start of the season. They're picking up form as we predicted because it's a team that has the quality to beat the likes of, in this case, Strasbourg. But I like the way that they play, but I would like to see more technically, and I'd like to see more if they introduce players, how they're going to use those players in their system.
And the bigger games as well,
Mm.
doing it when it matters, especially, geez, that
Champions
Champions
League.
League. Yeah,
Yeah.
holy moly.
Yeah.
If they get it next year as well, which is
Mm.
very likely with 3 teams,
Mm.
one of which will be Paris FC, again,
Yeah.
who managed to win a very comprehensive win. So many
6-2.
goals.
Wow.
Mendy with
Mm.
a set piece, low darting near post cross, drags to the far post, catches out the keeper. Then you had Connason, I think it was Connason,
Hmm.
equalizes for Lons, rounding Chavas. That was a very impressive moment. And then they got a penalty as well. So Lons
Mm.
actually took the lead 2-1 up. And it was a very good pen. Smallis taking that, and then Paris FC getting one back of their own penalties, with Garbino sending the wrong keeper the wrong way for a 2-2 in the first half, but it was a second half smackdown 4-0 comprehensive showing. Jed Linska with a hezzy chop and a strike into the top right corner was an amazing move, and great interplay with Lou Boggart. And Lou Boggart, if there's anything you've heard in the last 3 podcasts, it's me glazing this left back from Paris FC, who is now front runner for me of who I want as the backup for AG. This girl has been her last, if anyone looks at her form in the last, not just 3 weeks, but the last month and a half, spectacular. The way she can create chances, the way she can score chances, the way she can lock down. She's a two-way defender. She is fantastic. This is the Uwabi replacement, in my opinion. This is who we need. And then Kaja Korashek gets a penalty, sends the keeper the wrong way after Ndongala is brought down. They go 4-2 up. Then Ndongala scores after pouncing on a rebound from Jedlinska's shot that she set up. So Ndongala set up that Jedlinska shot and she ran on. That's how you deserve a goal. You keep running. She caught the defender's ball watching from Lons. Like, that's how you do it. And then it was Shaker Scott with probably the best goal of the lot. This Lamogadet cross forces this audacious near post run. You kind of think there's no chance here, and she heads it from the near post to the far post, bar and in. It's basically the most Sam Kerr goal you'll ever see, that kind of header that you know she can do, but it was from Shaker Scott. It was an amazing header that put them 6-2 up. They're 1 point ahead of Paris FC going into those playoffs, so they've ended up second, and Nantes, with a 3-3 draw with Le Havre away from home, has them fourth in the playoffs for a tie. Shout out to Lucy Kalba, a brace, and a penalty save from Nantes' keeper, Canadian Emily Burns, held the draw. Obviously, they were going to make the playoffs anyway. They were 2-0 and 3-1 up, and then they were lucky to actually get a draw in the end. But it's an amazing 6-goal game if you want to watch that. But we will have Nantes versus Lyon in the league playoff, and a Paris derby for the ages in that playoff as well. I am very excited for that game. I think Lyon and Nantes is going to be, look, it'll be a tight game. Nantes will definitely bring it at home, but I think, ultimately it is one of those situations where if you're going to the Groupama, they might actually put in some players that need to pull in some form and they'll just pull away. But the Paris FC game versus PSG will reveal more and more and more about the difference in mentality rather than the difference in ability.
Arkema is so strange. I think having the goal difference be the head-to-head be the differentiator rather than the goal difference, this playoff at the end of the season.
Well, it's like the dub.
Yes, it's like the dub, but unfortunately the dub is not in Europe. So, in all honesty, this just puts so much pressure on the likes of Lyon. It's annoying because I think that they can obviously win it even with their second string squad.
And they will.
And they will, but it is an indictment on the Arkema. You want the team that has been just so good this season, just so dominant. Just win it. Just give them the title.
Just give them the title. We don't need extra playoffs. Fair enough.
Not necessary. And if you are going to do the whole playoff thing, make it a genuine table thing.
So you think it should be top 8, top 6? Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, whatever. That's fair enough. Do the NWSL, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, it doesn't feel right. It's not.
Yeah, treat it like an Arkema Cup rather than like a playoff game. I do get that. But, speaking of the NWSL, we are going to jump into Leggy's NWSL Watch.
Another week, another heap of games.
A Lindsay heaps of games.
A Lindsay heap of games. No, 10 games in 6 days. I can't keep up. It's too much football. So we're going to go through 3 big games, and then I'm going to do like a little ladder review at the end, because the teams that are on top had very easy and convincing wins against the teams at the bottom.
Shock.
Yeah, but I'm going to go first with the game that you texted me about. Ben
I had to. Legacy game. This is a legacy game. It had to be.
We found the legacy, and the legacy for Boston Legacy is beating the other new team in Denver. So,
expansion derby. That's how we do it. And also Denver have been good. Denver have been decent this start of the season in ways that I didn't think they were. The last 2 games have been a shambles, but they started off the season. I'm like, what is this expansion? How have they managed to defy the odds? But this is football heritage right here. This is football legacy here.
Was this a good game? No, it wasn't a good game despite the 5 goals. This was
don't diss my Nishi Prince right there.
Have I seen things that I've never seen on the pitch before? Yes, but in like the wrong reasons. I've seen terrible things on the pitch in this game. But most importantly, I had a lot of fun. And the fun mostly came off the back of hating this Denver team, probably as much as I hate Washington, which is a bit surprising because Washington have a multi-conglomerate owner in their ranks. But Denver have come into this league and thought that they could poach the likes of Lindsay Heaps, the likes of a potential Sam Kerr, and ride off the back of that for the first half of the season, waiting for them to come along. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't invest in the players from the start of the season. And I think, look, they have solid NWSL ballers, Yaz Ryan, Deline Sheenan. Like, these are players that could have gotten you above what is 13th, a measly 13th for a Denver Summit side. But at the end of the day, it is really coming up against, the captain of the US Women's National Team as the face of your team already, and basically Effie Trinket from the Hunger Games, who is Elizabeth Banks, who owns this team. So it was a 3-2 win. I personally loved it. Bianca
Are you
St.
calling it
George's-
Denver? Are you calling Denver Denver Summon is Denver Sunrise on the Reaping?
Yeah, Denver Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yeah.
No, but this was also a big game. Just a little side note. This was a big game for Canadians, right? Only one Yank scored, which I think is
NWSL.
fair.
That's why it's national. It's not.
Exactly.
It's not USL. That's the second division. Like, you don't need US players. Honestly, they encourage imports in. I'm surprised there's no tariffs on these players. But yeah,
Good
Canadian masterclass, to be honest.
I'm going to move on to San Diego. They keep being quite horrendous. This was a 1-0 loss to Bay FC, which is embarrassing in its own right, but it's proof that we cannot make judgment calls off the first three games in the season. What I'll say about Bay,
but we do. That's our whole job.
Yes. Yeah, we
but
do.
Don't diss my goat, Kudananji, by the way.
I was just about to say, but Bay FC, look, they better hope that they can hold on to Kundananji because without her, they look horrendous. They've only scored more than twice in one game in the 8 games that they've played, which is not good at all. They're sitting very miserly in 10th place, but this was especially bad for San Diego. And I think, as I've mentioned before, the antidote is a striker. They just are unwilling to sign one. And I don't know what Alex Morgan is doing as the co-owner, the chair, or whatever she is of San Diego, but she had better get her act together for mid-season transfer because they are slipping down. They are 4th, but they are only a point away from 5th of Gotham.
Maybe she can teach Kenza Daly how to take a penalty. That might be the play for AM.
That's the play. She doesn't want to teach her because her last penalties have been horrendous.
I was going to say that maybe that was a bit of Boston legacy right there. But Kenza Daly, I mean, how can you have like such an elite game and then wrap it up with that penalty? That's such a shame. But yeah, it was a 1-0 hold. This was the most Calcio NW. I mean, there was that NWSL moment like last season where it was 1-0 NWSL, but
it was a draw NWSL.
The DNWSL. But yes, it is. I don't know. It's an interesting precedent when you look at the league of where the Bay sit ultimately as a team that cannot draw a game of football to save their life.
I said this before. How are they a destination club without doing anything of note for the last 3 seasons? It's so frustrating to me. They got some.
Like, you have to go to the Bay. You have to go to the Bay to understand it.
I see the Bay. When I watch Bay FC home games, I just look in the top left corner and I can see the Bay. It looks lovely, but it's not the appeal here. It's the football.
But sometimes it's where you want to live. It's crazy how the NWSL works, where some people, especially me, who's kind of out of the realm, the names change, but the streets are different. The streets are actually different. So like living in Denver for me, like if I had to pick a place to go, the Bay is probably nicer than the mountain range that is Denver.
I don't think we haven't critiqued signings based on blue and red states enough. I think this is what you're trying to get at.
Yes.
If you're going to a red state,
when we're talking about the NWSL watch, next time, and when we're off season again, we need to talk about an NWSL watch of what it means when the transfers are going through, and we'll talk about what it entails basically. exactly.
The final game I wanted to focus on, the 2024 final rerun, Orlando and Washington. I think a big staple of a casual NWSL watcher is watching this game in particular. It's up there with the KC versus Washington and et cetera, et cetera.
I
But
sadly watched the wrong half of this game. I watched the second half of this
okay, I
game
was gonna
because you
say
were like, you need to watch this. And then I watched everything I didn't want to watch in a football match, which was a masterclass from a player that I mean, he can do it. She can definitely do
can
it.
do it.
Jesus Christ.
But I think this game was definitely like Orlando, Washington, definitely. Like I can assure you they were the two teams that were playing, but it was 11 versus 1. It was 11 players versus Washington versus one player for Orlando, and that was Barbara Banda. And she had an immense 8 minutes of
Yeah.
football.
Can I ask a question though? Can
Yeah,
I ask
go
a
on.
question?
Yeah.
Orlando had a penalty, yes?
Yes.
How is Barbara Banda not the penalty taker?
I have
In what
no
universe?
idea.
Is this like a Haaland Omar Marmoush
I
situation
don't.
where Lemos was getting like Make-A-Wish handouts or something? But
It
or like when
might
they
be.
try to put Kai I remember when Kai Havertz was
Mm.
on penalties and he got given one and it was like Warra Kai Havertz for scoring finally. But Barbara Banda in my realm, any team that brings Barbara Banda in, Barbara Banda is the penalty taker in my head. She is the most
Like,
natural finisher in the NWSL and
mm.
she needed to have a hat trick in that game.
Lemos is one of those players though. She plays 90s. She's the starter, but she's also an ex-striker. So I guess in that sense,
Maybe.
potentially, I don't know. I think
Hey, if
it
she
was
was sense, she would have scored that penalty.
true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But this is a really good rivalry. For being 1,000 miles like away from each other, because there are no derbies in the NWSL, which I think is
Yeah.
an absolute shame.
Mm.
This is probably one of the best you're going to get. Unfortunately, it's not what Trinity Rodman wants because there is
No.
absolutely no trash talking in this game. I'm
Yeah.
expecting more. I'm expecting red cards. I'm expecting like not 2 4s in the score and like
Yeah.
3 alls. Like this is the type
Yeah,
of game
three
I want
all,
from this.
10 reds. Everyone's off the pitch.
Everyone's
We
off.
kind of love it. Also, you could
Marta the
you
winner.
you don't think Digiuelmo wouldn't want to go after people as well? She's got that culture, energy, spirit in
True.
her. But I mean, I did watch the bits of this game.
Mm,
I did get to see 25 minutes in live in the flesh of Claudinha and
mm,
this girl. Oh
yeah.
my days, yeah, she is the real deal. Holy schlamoli! I mean, yes, I didn't see the Cantore of it all, and I
The
think she did.
Cantorate of it all is very
Yeah.
interesting because
Mm.
she's a player. If you talk to, I don't talk to any of them, but if you look at the NWSL fans and the people who go for Washington, they've been a bit skeptical about Cantore. She hasn't had the immediate impact, and I think that's mostly relying on the fact that she's Italian and she doesn't naturally play the NWSL ball. She scored 2 goals in 4 minutes at the start of the game, which is incredible. But yeah, Claudia Martinez. I mean, this is a player who's come onto the scene, immediately had an impact. Reminds me
Holy
so much of
moly!
Linda Caicedo. I wonder what you think of her, having watched her in the last stages of these matches. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I'm afraid that she's going to go to Lyon and
Yeah,
be the
true.
terror that she is. Like she is like I think I didn't expect her to be that strong. I
Mm,
guess that's what like
yeah, great
18
shout.
years old, like Vicky Lopez can get bullied off the ball, but she
Mm,
uses the hesitation, the strength. She can take a tackle. Like
yep.
she was like NWSL, like as much as I can give it all the crap and give them cop all the crap for
Mm,
you're on the other side of the world, you're America, whatever the physical, like we talk about it before. The transitional game has never been more alive in pretty much every sport in the world right now. It's like we've kind of given up on the slower players who are more technically gifted, and we've decided that the next generation, the Moultries,
mm,
the Jaden Shaws, they are physical freaks who then have the ability, but
mm.
you have to be able to run, sprint for 90 minutes, multiple efforts, working hard. And this girl can do both. She can slow down the game, she can create the game, you can run the game around her. It's a shame, in my opinion, that she's doing it at Spirit because the game won't run around her, right? Do you get what I mean? In the sense
I
of that
do.
she can play the system. I'm not saying she can't.
Mm.
And Rodman and Cantore and Santos is a great front four. I'm not denying that. But like you're talking about Caicedo in that same realm. I think she could do what Caicedo does around Madrid, where the game is shaped around her, and I want to see that because
Mm.
there is a chance that yes, Rodman comes out of this game obviously player of the match for that second half performance and parts of the first half that I didn't see, but ultimately I was in awe of an 18-year-old that isn't Vicky Lopez and isn't like I don't know, isn't Iman Bene, and Iman Bene is 19, turning 20 very soon. So like it is I mean, again, worthy of a price tag that I thought was massive overs, but you can clearly tell that the stonks were right on her.
The one thing about Claudia Martinez, which I think is overlooked, is that she's been playing professional football since 2023, January
Mm.
2023. That's 3 whole years for a
3 years.
19-year-old.
Yeah.
And I
So
think that
16 years old is
yeah,
mental.
exactly. And I think that one of the things I've disparaged about going to the NWSL in the middle of your career is a thing I don't disparage about young players going to the NWSL. You get the ability to have physical, high transition football whilst also having stakes. I think is something really important that players maybe coming from Latin America going to the leagues with, not the stakes that are representative of whatever league you're in, they don't really match that. But in the NWSL, it is constant. It's
Yeah.
every week you need to get a result.
Yeah.
And Martinez being the differentiator will mean that when she eventually gets her move to Europe, it'll be for a team that needs her rather than just wants her
It'll
as
be
this
like
like
AT.
prized
It'll be like
possession.
AT.
Yeah, it'll be like AT. It'll be the
Yeah.
type of footballer that we expect to then have an immense European campaign as much as she has or will have in the NWSL.
Yeah, think about like Liv Smith. I know Liv Smith didn't do the NWSL route in that same way, but like from North America, a CONCACAF player
Mm.
will establish themselves in their grounds and then move when the time is right. And she has so much time. Again, the same way I said, Vicky Lopez is. I'll tell you when it is, but she'll be the best player in the world. This is someone who can rival that. The Lily Johannesses, like there is this next generation
Yeah.
coming up, and it will be like there will be a time where we're a lot older. You won't be, but you'll be my age. And I'll be like a dinosaur, and I'll be like, God, I miss APA, and I miss
Mm.
Ada, and I miss
Yeah.
Alex Pop, and all that. But like. We're blessed. We're so
Mm.
blessed to have 18-year-olds like that. And you know who else is blessed? Like Michelle Kang is blessed because
Yeah,
she can
true.
have this player wherever she wants her to go. Like
Mm.
you can send her to LCL if you want. You can send her wherever you want. Do as you please. But I believe that is all we have for Leggies NWSL Watch. As we move into La Dub, the playoffs, the first leg, another leggy misery victory at home. Where is that home? Amy Park, but it's not Amy Park, but it is Amy Park. It is like the worst like Mandela effect of this is the capitulation of football Victoria, not Australia this time, not the FA. This is FV, where our home grounds are so bad for football that they're just the same for everyone in every sport. So there's no actual like legitimacy to like a home ground advantage. It is just Victory and City playing in their shared village.
I remember the days where City would play 2 minutes across the
Oh,
road from
yeah.
me, John
100%
Faulkner,
J. Yeah, I
right?
was going
Like
to say
they were
JF.
the
Yeah,
days.
JFP.
Yeah, they were the days of genuine like home crowd
Yeah.
advantage, something
And
that you
you'd
could
see it as
strive for.
well. Yeah.
This is like first of all, I genuinely think this is worse for City. They've had a worse
Oh, of
record at
course.
Amy Park than Victory have because we've just been there longer.
Yeah, yeah, of
But
course.
to
It's
be
your
honest
home
with you,
ground.
yeah, but to be honest with you, like I'm totally blaming Victory for this. This is a double header of despair
Yeah.
and sorrow for Victory. They did not advertise this game well enough. We had like 12 people at Amy Park when the next game was an elimination final, which is in Australia, the Big Blue, Victory versus
Yeah.
Sydney. So the fact that there were very minimal crowds in a
Yeah.
home game was incredibly disparaging. And it felt like that's kind of what lent itself to the actual game. It was underwhelming. I
Yeah.
saw people calling it a snooze fest, which it was.
It
Like
was
my my
compared to
husband.
the games in the season, it was absolutely the
Oh,
worst
that
of the
that
three.
that
Yeah.
first derby was the
The
best
2-1.
derby I've
Yeah, the
seen for a
2-1.
long time, actually.
Yeah.
And I think it was never going to reach that. It is a
Yeah.
first leg, which I have my own issues with legs as semi-finals. But
Disgusting.
it was the first leg of a semi-final where I knew that we were going to go in conservative, but I thought that the way that we played conservative football was better than the way you lot
Mm,
played conservative football, based on the fact that we've
100%.
been doing it for the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm.
But we came at this game. We actually had a front foot. We were going in on the attack, and then it just like kicked us in the ass when
Yeah.
we conceded one of the worst goals I've seen Victory concede in a while.
Shambles goal. I'm a City fan. I'm happy to take the three. This is a
Mm,
sign of champions. We're better than you,
mm,
and we didn't really deserve much from this game. Shout out to O'Grady, shout out to Rachel Lowe for trying to facilitate something, but it was obviously Melina Mirez saving us. That, like, no pun intended, like, she just did everything for us to make sure that it stayed 1-0, because no one really did much to make sure it was 2-0 or wrap up the legs as a whole and kill the game in the first leg, because they just assumed that the home leg will be a write-off, which it probably could, but the chaos ball, danger ball was enough. It felt like a tournament game, tourney ball, where you just get away with doing a strike from McKenna, and like Davidson had a chance, Macca had a chance, and Macca did not take that chance very well as well.
Hasn't been looking good, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a shame. And I think it's fair. It's exactly right. It is reminiscent of any player that comes out of that cup not looking the same and like expecting more. Look at the Amy Sayer of it all, who's probably coming out of that tournament very happy with her contribution and her performance. And I am someone who very much rates Holly McNamara leaps and bounds above Amy Sayer, but clearly Joe Montemuro doesn't, and that's
Caitlin
kind of the
Torpey
point.
as well,
Yeah,
you know,
Torpey, yeah, exactly right, 100%. And it's a thing where some players are just confidence players, and we've seen what Macca does when she is on form, and you run that Asia Cup back one more time, and she scores one goal, and that one turns to two, and she's starting in an Asia Cup final in another realm. But that's not how it works. Sometimes you just end up on the wrong side of some form, and that strike is lent to that confidence. But I don't know. I didn't think this game was, like, considering it's a derby between our lot and your lot, this lot are in big trouble, and ultimately this second leg in Amy Park again is going to be, I don't know, it could just be more of the same. And like, so shout out to Mirez for channeling the GOATs, the Mount Rushmore of Tilly goalkeeping in Melissa Barbieri, Macca, Micah, and Chloe Lincoln, El GOAT of Asia Cup. But yeah, it was just such a weird game in comparison to the Brisbane Knicks game, which I thought was actually very entertaining. I thought this was a good final. Yeah, Grace Jail, ale, holy crap. I mean, that's just the back post magic of the cup. That header is unbelievable, and she was farming aura with that header. That was a crazy moment, but it wasn't as much aura as the other centre back on the other team, Hayashi, running again. You said she's run onto the header. The ball has run onto her. The way that she moved in that goal was mental, and Brisbane caught it on. Like, they went for it. I know Wellington opened the scoring, but I really think that they didn't take their chances early on, and Brisbane made them pay, because that Michaela Woods chance, who has been in a very big drought at the moment, like it's probably her biggest drought of the season in the most important time of the season, has hit the post, and they've kept the door open, and then Hayashi met Woods' corner, 1-1, and then all of a sudden the game turns on its head. And obviously, like Essen made that amazing save from that chip from Miller. Like, there was some good moments. But Mackenzie Barry, I mean, that header clearance was just not it. And that just shows the difference. That was the difference in this game, that one captain got them back in the game, and one captain ends up doing this. And it shows why Raw took their chances, took the spoils at home. It fell to Brown. She chested it and volleyed it in. And it is a great night for Brisbane, in my opinion. I think they needed to win that game. They got the win. That could have been easily a 2-0 loss at home and sunk them in the legs. But this is much more confidence going into the long haul flight that is the Knicks ball. And I mean, maybe there'll be drones out. Yeah, exactly.
Can I
maybe
just make a point on
out.
that?
Yeah.
Can I just make a point of Bev Priestman? If you've been following the Knicks and this coach, she has been like inspirational coach FC. It feels like every time she speaks, it's another Arsenal documentary. Like
it's like the clips of AJ before every City match where he does three things.
I honestly, if I were a Knicks fan, I'd get behind it. I'm not a Knicks fan, so I don't love it. But if anything, they need to meet the expectations
Mm.
of a coach who keeps making like, Oscar-worthy speeches. And I think these two teams, I mean, the goals per match average of these two teams are the two best in the league. That's why I think I'm most disappointed at Wellington. But at the same time, keeping in touch with Brisbane, only one goal in the aggregate. I think that this is Wellington's to lose. They're at home. They have the home ground advantage, something that they do actually galvanize around, similar to
Well, they
Brisbane,
need
who've
to get
had
a
a
goal. They need to
fantastic.
get a goal.
They need to get
Brisbane
a
could
goal.
lock them
Yeah.
up. Brisbane do have the ability to lock up sides, especially in the start of this season. We saw how good they were at being able to score while maintaining. All they need is one. All they need is one. And I don't know who's going to get it. I don't know how they're going to get it. But if they get one, I would find it very difficult for the Knicks to get back into
Well,
this game.
Wellington, funny enough, they have they are the top team as the least amount of goals conceded. They concede 0.9 average goals a game, which is
Mm.
basically one. But I mean,
Mm.
everyone concedes in the dub. So but
Yeah.
they are defensively should be better than this Brisbane
Mm.
side. If Brisbane are able to do it, side note, this would be incredible. They lost Sean Fryer, probably like inarguably their best player,
Mm.
and in doing so have galvanized in this later half of the season a side that I didn't necessarily think were going to even make the finals, did it emphatically. They beat Adelaide 3-0. This is a team that if they get to the final, it'll be like a magic run, similar to how Victory got to the final, or even similar to how Central Coast got to the final, and we know how that ended last year.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if they get to the final and win it, I mean, it would be generational for Brisbane. It would be along the realms of that, like their former championship wins. Like if you go back to 2010, 11, that realm of
So yeah,
generational
exactly. Mini
Brisbane side that
Gori.
included Gorry, but also someone who we're going to talk about now in Ivy Lewick, who has just won as a 40-year-old, 41-year-old, has
Jesus.
won a Europa Cup
Amazing.
with Hacken beating Hammarby in a Swedish derby final craziness. And it's all, I mean, it was a two-legged final again. Two-legged final is mental. Two-legged semi, fine, I can somewhat deal with it, but two-legged final is blasphemous.
Yes, agreed.
But what isn't blasphemous is how good this child is. Holy moly. I mean, we mentioned Claudinha Martinez, we mentioned Vicky Lopez, we mentioned Lilia Harness. The fourth in the Rushmore in my head is this girl, Felicia Schroeder, who scored a final a hat trick in a Europa Cup, the inaugural Europa Cup final. That just puts you in the quiz show so easily for so many, like that is as Woso folklore as it gets. This girl has been absolutely insane this season, by the way. His like 2025 into 2026 has been absolutely mental. She had in 2025, she had 45 goals and 12 assists in 41 games. She had 30 goals and 11 assists in 26 games in the league. And then in that Europa Cup run, which was absolutely sublime, she had 8 goals in 9 games. Like there is not much else I can say about the fact that she is a ruthless striker. I do think that Stenius should start ahead of her because she is 19. She has just turned 19. But I think there is a pay grade in terms of age and experience and learning from Black Stenius. And it doesn't matter how ruthless you are, playing at Arsenal is harder than playing at Hacken. But yeah, respect the hustle. This girl is going to be the real deal, and I wonder who is going to go after her.
I think it'll be fascinating to see, and in a way that is a positive rather than a negative. Hacken
Mm.
are always producing stars. So when Schroeder, at the ripe age of 19, leaves and becomes a fantastic, hopefully, player
Mm.
in Europe, what 16-year-old is going to come up and replace her and be just so
There'll be
incredible?
another
And
one, yeah. The
there'll be
Van
another one.
Geheims, the thing. Van Geheim was doing the same thing, and I know at United it hasn't. It's not that it's worked out. She's learning from players that are better than her. But the thing is, I don't see Schroeder going to like Chelsea to sit on the bench. I don't see her going to Lyon to sit behind Katoto and Hegerberg. I just think that's stupid. So she either goes to the NWSL and cooks the same way
Mm.
for a side that's willing to put the big bucks on her, or she's got to go to a side that's going to do it. And in my head, I mean, if we're going to move on to the next section, which is the extensions, departures, rumors, and retirements, we did mention, I mean, there's a big article, big expose that's come out from
Expose.
expose. It is an expose. It is a traumatic experience to ruin my league form. Is that Bunny is set to leave Manchester City, the best player we've had this season, the best player we've had for the last half a decade. She is the only woman for Manchester City who is in the 100 club. She is doing it at Haaland levels. The goal to game ratio is mental, and she will be a crucifix of magic for whoever she goes to, whether it is but whether it is Barcelona, whether it is Chelsea, or I mean, I don't know how LCL are in the mix. I guess they're in the mix for every player that's ever lived. But I do see Bunny probably going to Chelsea. I do see Sam Kerr probably leaving. And if Viv goes into the nine, that's fine. But for me, if I'm going to be bullish about the fact that we probably need two strikers to deal with the fact that we have Europe, the two strikers we should be going after, unless Viv is going into the nine, and then I can shill Puteas and say Puteas needs to come to City, and then my life is redeemed. I will move to Manchester, and that's it, and I'm done. But the players I would want to, if I'm being a little bit more realistic than Puteas, and you can say I'm being unrealistic, is that I would want Romeo Lukta and I would want Felicia Schroeder. And I'd want both of them as rotations, one for Europe, one for the league, because I trust both of them to be able to finish goals. I trust Romeo Lukta and Viv to work together really well with that Dutch link up, especially with Caspi as well, which will facilitate great for Viorink, who would love the fact that we have this Dutch trio in there. But for me, it is Felicia Schroeder, who is an 18-year-old, 19-year-old now, assassin, Swedish killer, who is proven on the bigger stage, can handle the big occasions, comes in to Manchester City with a Swedish manager who's managed the greatest player of all time and can turn you into the greatest player of all time if you want to be that.
I love the Schroeder pick. I do. I love it
Yeah.
because I think that
Yeah.
connection is like ripe to actually facilitate genuine
Yeah.
growth for the player and for City. The
Yeah.
Lukta move, I'm very skeptical of.
Oh,
She's
of
not.
course. She isn't that
It's
this
not.
level that
It's not about the
yeah, yeah.
level. I think
Oh.
it's that when you mention the Dutch connection, I
Mm.
don't see it with Viv. I actually think that they're incredibly invasive of each other's spaces. I don't think they work
Interesting.
together very well.
In the
Lukta
national
has not.
team, true.
Yeah, Lukta has not had a fantastic national team. Career. She's only scored five goals in 30 games. This is not a player who since 2021, by the way. This is
Yeah.
not a player who I think A should fit into a side, and A that you should go for, and that you should settle for as a
Mm.
WSL champion. We've seen it with
Yeah,
Chelsea.
that's
They're
fair.
ruthless. Like,
Oh,
yes, you
100%.
mentioned Mateus. I don't think that that's actually crazy unrealistic. I think
Look,
that you should go for it.
I no, if I look, if we got Puteas and Schroeder, I would cry. I would genuinely cry on camera. I'm telling you, I would get so many more views on TikTok if that happens. Like that is like the
You'll go
most
insane.
mental
Yeah.
thing. And like Sheikh Mansour, if you do that, I will like bow down to you. I will do like a whole I will do my own expose on my own ideals and say like, you know what, City till I die, Blue Moon Rising with the money that we spent to get Puteas, who I mean, look, the way she reacted when she came off the emotions and everything. Yes, okay, it was a big occasion, but it looked the optics are a big thing. It looked like it was the last time she was playing at the Camp Nou. That's what it felt like, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if she re-signed because she is the cooler through and through. She bleeds the Blau and the Grana, but I. I do see there is something about I don't see Alexia in an LCL top. I just don't see it.
I
But I
agree.
can I
100%
could
agree.
see her in a Manchester City top because of the fact that she could do the same things that she does for Barcelona, for City in the same with more luxury in a lot of ways
Mm.
because the WSL will be more conducive to her style of play in the sense of that she takes the shots that the WSL dreams of taking, like the movements she has in the box. I would love. I mean, everyone dreams of playing with Puteas. Everyone dreams of watching Puteas live. I would love to see Puteas and Viv on the same field. And I think Hempo, every player around you gets 50 times better by playing with Lorena.
Do you not think this might be even more outlandish?
Yeah.
But I look at a player like Barbara Banda and I go, that's the
Oh, killer.
natural successor
Oh,
to
yeah.
to
Killer.
Bunny Shaw. She's got about a year and a half left on her contract. Yes, she was the second highest fee at the time, and
True.
I think that
And she'd still be a fee still.
you may need to break another 114 rules in FFP to get
No, she'd
her.
be a seven-figure signing. She'd be
But
a million. Yeah.
they're the kind of players that you get out of contract. They're the kind of players who you lure to your side. So you say Champions League football.
Mm,
You were WSL champions looking
mm,
for to do it again. You are
mm.
prolific domestically.
Yeah.
And the fact that she would be replacing and probably looking to match the level of someone so exceptional as Bunny Shaw,
Money.
someone probably she looks up to as a fellow striker in that same ilk.
Yeah.
That's who I would be going for. And it could be completely outlandish, but
Look, I
that's
don't think it's, I agree with you. I don't think we need to demand the best. And this is where I think my league predictions don't actually match my transfer thing, because if we want to be the best, if we want to retain what we've got, we have to go after things that, I want Lou Boggart on the bench, but we can go for McCabe. We can go for
yeah.
Mead. We've been linked to both of them. Mead, I mean, look, I don't like this idea, but I know Mead in the past has played in the nine
No, you
for,
need her as a
under that.
facilitator.
I don't want her
Yeah.
in the nine. I don't want Viv in the
The
nine being
opposite end from
facilitated
me.
by
Yeah.
Mead. Yeah, I don't want that. I want Mito on the right, doing what she's been doing, getting her 68th, 9th, 75th assist in the WSL for us. That's what I want her to do, to just keep packing up the numbers. But I want Schroeder for the future, and Banda's a great shout. Lexi's the best shout. There's no better shout than the best player in the world, in my opinion. But
Pile.
yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, well, that's just not happening. Yeah, then I start going into delusion as a mental illness.
Bunny
But
Shaw.
yeah, Bunny, yeah, nice. Yeah, Anyomi as a replacement. Thank you. But we will move to the player. I mean, we already talked about Mapi. I don't think we really need to cover that. We did
Because
do
then we'll
that.
start getting controversial, and
Yeah,
we'll
which is that
start
she should be at Leon instead. But we'll talk about the Mapi replacement, because it'll be a straight swap, Kang straight swap, and deciding that I mean, ultimately we have a Mapi shaped hole, and Perez is not going after this player either. No one's going after this player in Spain. They're just going to recall Martina Fernandez from Everton. I mean, this is the play. I mean, just get Jana back as well. Just bring back all the Fernandezes. Get Paula Fernandez from Sociedad and Greya Fernandez trio. Bruno. I can't believe I just did that on camera.
as a
I might have
City
to
fan,
cut that.
then.
Yeah, I might have to cut that out. It is such a good chant, to be fair. But Martina Fernandez is a great shout. They need to bring her back if Mapi's going to leave. I think it has to be. And she's been good this season. I don't think she's been terrible. And she's made a good partnership with Mace, which is kind of sad to break that up. But it means that Mace might go and Phelan Ball might be not feeling the same feelings.
And that's the most disappointing part, because outside of Kelly Gago, who's already, we don't know what's going to happen to her, they're the two most solid and most reliable centre halves in that bottom half of the table in the WSL. And to break them apart is to basically break apart this Everton side that is still on that precipice. They're holding on, and we've been saying that about Everton for so long. Can they hold on now without Martinez, potentially without Ruby Mace? That will be the big challenge. But for Barca, this is an incredible callback for a player that has now done it in the WSL, similar to Anya Battier, has made them a better player, and then bring them back, and she can start in the league games. She can start in the Champions League. It'll be very interesting if they do it.
It'll be so useful, so versatile. The same way that we already talked about Searchy to Arsenal, just a new angle to take, a left footer that is a killer, that can do it, can run games on her own. And it's similar to Liv Smith in a way, in all the right ways, which is what you want. You want another player who's,
that's who I see
exactly.
as the connection there.
Yeah,
I just think
100%.
in players that maybe we underestimate coming in and doing the job. And honestly, this is adios Caitlin Ford, in my opinion, because it's not the fact that I don't want to keep these players. Depth is important. It's the fact that I've seen in the last week the worst of Caitlin Ford, and unfortunately that level is being the standard of Caitlin Ford this season, and that's what, in my opinion, is dragging us back into the dark ages of not even competing in Champions League football.
But she could play in the nine though, so it could be a situation when you've got healthy competition for
three strikers.
Yeah, but it's not three strikers, because Russo's playing behind, and that's fine, and that works. And has been working pretty well this season. She's been unbelievable, but like despite my convictions of her being up front. But Searchy could mean that Stina goes back to the bench, and that also is not like, again, Stina has to work for it, but we know what Stina can do off the bench. She's won Champions Leagues off the bench, and that's healthy competition that I usually don't ascribe to knocking the confidence down of a player who's just re-signed. But the last player we're going to talk about is a Norwegian talent that I think also sometimes doesn't get enough credit. I mean, you never bench again Mallard all the time, but this girl is always injured, and this girl's pretty
I've never
clinical.
benched again Turlin before.
You
Remember at the
have done
start of
that.
the
Lizzie
season?
T early on in the
Yeah.
season. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I give her a lot of crap because she's a United player. I mean, but now they have all these Norwegians, so I can't do it anymore. But like now, like I actually do like Nelson a little bit. But yeah, look, I think she wants to stay in England. I don't know where. Maybe Villa, maybe any of the pack sides who don't have a striker. Like, this is the player. She's actually clinical. She's more clinical than most of the pack side strikers, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if she's better than I'd put her in that same realm as Martinez and Ueki. I think she's like, I don't know. There were predictions from other podcasts that we know that were saying that Turlin was going to be a top goal scorer this season. And obviously the season hasn't worked out for her, but I think that Lizzie T can benefit whoever she goes to, whether it's lower down in the table. I don't know. I don't really see her going upwards, I guess.
Lizzie T reminds me a lot of Redondo. I think that she's the type
Yeah.
of player who is going to benefit in an environment that facilitates her style of play. The best I saw of Lizzie T was in big games in that Champions League qualification right at the start of the season. She was getting like tap-ins, near post goals. And I was saying to myself, this is a player that, given the opportunities, can have a good season. And I think that's one of the things with Lizzie T. She's probably looking for, and as I've said before, a team that enables growth, which is not Manchester United. And I actually have to commend her for trying to get the hell out of that club, because at least it means that it's a player who desperately is trying to grow and be better in the position that is, as we've talked about, a bit lacking in Woso right now, especially her ilk of striker.
100%. And I think it'll be exciting to see where she goes, the same way it'll be exciting to see where Natalia Padilla goes as she's
You'll go.
leaving Bayern. My favorite streamer. I don't know what, I mean, again, I assume Lena Oberdorf is staying at Bayern,
Does
so
this
I
mean the
assume she will.
streams are
Yeah, the
over?
streams are over. Maybe it's online Zoom streams for them, but Oberdorf is staying at Bayern. So I wonder if, I assume she is going to stay in Germany, and
Frankfurt.
yeah,
Replace
maybe it's a
Sens.
Frankfurt. Yeah, maybe it's a Frankfurt. Maybe it's a VFL. Maybe it's a Hoff. I
Mm.
don't know geographically what works best for her and what works best
Such
for
a
her football
Woso
as
thing.
well.
This is
But it's
the
true.
best.
It's
It is,
true.
it
It's a
is.
reality of the misogyny of Menso. Like we don't really have that realm because there's so much homophobia in Menso
No,
before we start talking
I
about
know
that.
that Lewandowski
Yeah.
stayed in Bayern just so he could
Yeah.
be close to Marco Royce.
Muller.
I
Yeah,
know
I was
that
going to say Thomas Muller as
personally.
well. Yeah, Lewandowski. Yeah, but they all love him. They all adore him. I mean, he's in Spain now, so Royce is in LA. So you tell me
They
how
had
their
a
long
really
distance.
tragic breakup, Ben.
You
It's
tell me
what
how that long
happened.
distance relationship is working right now. But you show me the Menso like chart that they have.
No,
Yeah, but
don't
anyway,
start. Don't
that
start.
would be. Or it's just Royce and it's just one. That's all we've got. But that is all we have for extensions, departures, rumors, and more as we move into the Benchwarmers Awards. Never bench again. Controversial. I am going Ariana Caruso. And the reason I'm going Ariana Caruso is because if you look and watch Tanikawa, a great player,
Mm,
I think the Asia Cup has done something to her She wasn't playing every
mm,
game. She was
yeah.
coming on. She was coming on in the final. She wasn't starting. She didn't have the same confidence post Asia Cup as she did now, and her run of form hasn't been all that inspiring. And I think this is where healthy competition comes in. But Caruso has been very impressive. I've watched the last 3 games. I think specifically I've watched her and I'm like, wow, this player is playing like she did at the Euros that earned her the move to
Mm.
Bayern Munich. And I think there is a world where if Harder's playing up front and she's not in the 10 for Imade, then Caruso is the one who's pressing, working hard. She's definitely, obviously, the first sub off the bench right now. But the reality of the situation is that I think there is a world where she eclipses Tanikawa.
That's interesting because I was thinking about a Bayern player and I was actually thinking Imade,
Yeah,
mostly
true.
because in the Champions League specifically, and I'm also thinking against Barcelona,
Yeah.
that she is the type and the archetype of player
She
that
will
Barcelona
be. She will
struggles
be
with.
the killer. Yeah,
Mm,
eventually. I just think it takes time because she was a Jan signing.
yeah.
It like she will go down as like a top. Like, again, we've done the top three of
Mm,
impact. Imade has been a better player than those three players this
mm.
season across the season, but the signing itself hasn't really lent to like Bayern haven't exceeded expectations because of
Because,
Imade.
yeah, great
Yeah,
shout.
that's the point. But who's your is she your never bench again, or have you got someone
No,
else?
no, I have to unfortunately go with the player that did basically off her own boot beat our team, Arsenal, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go Dumornay for Leon
Dumone, Dumone,
and I
Dumone, Wendy.
sorry, it's
there's a
just
little,
trauma.
there's a little trailer for you. But yeah,
There you go.
Dumone is the first, like she is, oh my God, oh my
Yeah,
God. Like she makes you feel things watching football. Like holy schlamoli, she is like top five ballon easy, easy,
she's
like lock her in like 100%.
she's not idiosyncratic. This is not a player that's of a different type of winger. She very much benefits from the fact that there were predecessors who were doing the same thing and players in her own side who were doing it. She just at this
Marajan
point,
Regents.
yeah, she just at this point is doing it better. Like she just
Oh,
she was unstoppable. We
mental.
looked really slow just in comparison to the single player of
Yeah.
Dumoulin, let alone the whole of Lyon.
Yeah.
And it was that first half and then obviously that last
Oh,
little
that
10
ball.
minutes
Yeah.
it killed us. And I think that for me personally, as an Arsenal fan, it's better to lose against a top player like Dumont, like Brand, than it is to lose against, like, if we had lost against the team that faced us in the first leg.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. You don't go down swinging. You go
Mm,
down to world-class talent.
yeah.
And this girl, like if they beat Barcelona in this final, which is more than
Mm,
likely, she's the one. And she like it doesn't matter. International tournaments don't matter. If you kill everyone off, you win four trophies and you're the big reason why. And everyone can see it. Everyone knows. We did the TikTok early on in the year of the things she did to Manchester United in that game. She was murdering
mm,
teams. Like it's scary how much of a prolific match winner she is. You said she's a winger. I wouldn't even say she's a winger. She's De Mornay. De Mornay plays everywhere. She plays in the 10. She can play deeper. She can play up front. She can play on the left, the right. She can do anything. It's
mm.
so insane to say that, and it's refreshing. And also, I'm gonna say it now. She's gonna do something really special. If they win, she's gonna be the first Haitian player to win a Ballon d'Or. She's gonna be the first player in CONCACAF to realm like solidify this Eurocentric realm of the
Mm.
Ballon that has plagued us. And I'd love to see Elwa win a Ballon d'Or. I'd love to see Caro win it. I'd love to see different players win it. But this is a class shift. This is where players do it against the odds, especially those players where you're watching De Mornay and Tabitha Chewinga. These two players are like killing off teams, and it's like, wow, we got to a point where it's not just like Kang hasn't just signed Spanish players to win
Mm.
the league. She's gone around the world to find the best of the best, and Melky De Mornay is the best of the best. But super sub of the week, I could have gone Gio and Luani again, but I went for Latvine. Those headers, the VFL game, they needed to win that game to hold their second place. So shout out to Latvine.
I'm gonna go Juve's two super subs. I could have gone Riley Turner for Portland, who got their win and really
Mm,
should be a never bench again.
yeah.
But Juve's two subs, despite having a disappointing season, they needed these points just to stay in touch with third place, second place,
Mm,
etc. Um, the fun fact was that Vangsgaard was on for about 30 minutes, but Kroomgaard was on for 2 minutes,
yeah.
scored and
Yeah.
then was off the pitch in the 90th minute. She
Aura farm.
played
That's an aura
7 minutes
farm.
and got the
Yeah.
winner. Like that's
That's
incredible.
real. That's unreal. And she gets the bag. She gets the bonus for that game. That's player of the match right there. My come on the pod. I've gone nice this week.
Mm.
I want Vidosic on the pod. The guy has done everything. He can just slay the pod as well. He's the giant slayer. We are the giant slayers of women's football media. So I just want to talk to Vido, mate. He just
Yeah.
seems like he's having the week of his life. life. He's just balling out. He's working with Super Frank. Like it's just having a great week, and I just think he'd love the pod. I think he'd love the vibes as well.
I want his drip. Have you seen some of the Brighton hoodies?
Yeah.
Dope. I'd even go
Yeah.
for Brighton, and it's dope.
Yeah, so I mean I watched it in the game. I was like
Mm.
they're wearing like white fox. It's like white
Yeah,
fox aura.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I was like where are these community content for the big sides? Like I can't believe
I
they're
know.
getting Uniqlo
Renee
sponsorship
is
or
still
wagner.
in that t-shirt and
Oh
shorts.
my
Like she's
God,
still in it
yeah.
from the
And
Champions League. She
Yeglitz
hasn't gone out of
is
it.
in that black tee. Yeglitz is always
She
in
just
that
swaps
black
with
tee.
Pep every
Yeah,
every
yeah.
couple
Oh
of
my God,
weeks.
yeah. They just hug each other and they just grab each other's faces like this and they're like, I love you. But yeah, who's your come on the pod?
My come on the pod is a little bit more negative, but it has a nice ending. So stick
Yeah.
with me. Earlier this week in Victoria,
Yes, yes,
we
yes.
had a horrendous decision go through, which directly impacted men's football, but does have an impact on women's football. It
Every
is
football.
every football, really, yeah. It is the decision by the Victorian government to ban crowds at Federation Park, which
Yeah,
is one
Federation
of the
Square, the fan
Federation
zone. Yeah, yeah,
Square,
yeah.
one of the biggest
Mm.
fan zones that we had during 2022 during the Men's World Cup, but also 2023. I believe the instinct was to try and stop or curtail any potential what would you call it?
No, no,
Like
I'm going to tell you what the word
mm,
you're looking
yeah,
for, which is the word that the Acme CEO
yeah,
used, is hooliganism. Yeah,
that's
which
it. Yes.
ultimately is a very thinly veiled term
Mm,
that implies very racist
yes.
implications, which is the
And very
fact
much
that
in Victoria.
exactly. And we are a AF. Well, for anyone who's listening abroad, Victoria is the hub of Australian football, AFL, and it very much shows in the way in which it's set up, the way in which our stadiums are set up. We don't
Mm,
have football stadiums that are catered to any semblance of progression or exponential growth in the way in which that we actually do care about. It is still the most played sport in this state. Soccer is
mm,
still the most played sport in this state over AFL. That's how big it is. But we refuse to fund it. We refuse to care about it. There are so many fights at the ends of football matches, our Australian football matches,
mm,
and the media does not bat an eye. But when we rip out flares and
mm,
we run riot at Fed Square, they call it hooliganist attitude, and it's always the supporters, and football supporters are immigrants in Australia, whereas the white people watch football and like that watch AFL football, and that's why this delineation of hooliganism typecasted to immigrants in Australia ultimately sets up a precedent where political action and social action gets taken that has very like very tethered microaggressions that affect people who are immigrants in this country that love the most important sport in the world that I basically don't even call a sport anymore. It's actually just like religious tarnation at this
mm.
point, the way in which they've described it as hooliganism, like as if any like gathering of religious like care is an act of hooliganism. Football is our religion.
Mm.
Don't try and say that the passion is hooliganist, because there are ways to deal with it the way every other country deals with football fanatics, which is you let it happen and you enjoy it and you play into it. And most states in Australia can do it.
Mm.
Every other country in the world can do it. We just can't do it. There's one state in the world sucks at it, and it's embarrassing to live in this state where we don't command that respect.
And unfortunately, it took the likes of Sam Kerr, Craig Foster in Australia to vocalize this. I think the thing that is obviously the highlight of this story is the fact that it was overturned. The fact that the
Yeah,
use of the
shock.
word dickhead was in the official
Mhm.
Victorian Premier's what would you call it?
The
The notice.
the prompt, yeah, the teleprompt basically, yeah.
But honestly, the thing for me is from a female perspective, the worst part is the virtual signaling. The fact that we need to protect women and children from the acts that women and children are very much a part of, and the fact that we are treating men and women's football differently in this
Mhm.
country just because the fans are different. There is no difference.
No.
The men in the crowds of Matilda's games, the women in the crowd of Socceroos games are just as passionate, just as willing
Mhm.
to participate in the the fantastic scenes that we saw at Federations where that the likes of Jackson Irvine in 2022 called
The
Lecky.
Lecky goal. That was the
But
big one.
but
Yeah.
they're the players who stated that the scenes at Federation Square
Mm.
were encouraging and motivating for them. And honestly, look, it's not very patriotic to be taking away something that is so quintessential to the Australian culture, which is football fandom in any football, Australian rules
Mm.
football, or the football that is obviously the best and played around
Yeah,
the
but they
world.
would never take. But they play Oz Open there. They play any
Yeah.
other sport, the sport of the gentleman's sport, where there's so much quietness, so you're not afraid of it. Play into the passion.
Mm.
Steph, it is actually the biggest delineation in ideology between the institution and
Mm.
the product, which is the
Yeah.
fact that Steph Catley or any other player that is like treated as if they're an icon in this country, which the Matildas are, the Socceroos aren't. If
Mm.
Steph Catley walks on the street in Melbourne, she will get swamped.
Mhm.
Yeah. Whereas if Jackson Irvine walks on the
Yeah.
street, he'll be fine. He can go to Coles and he'll be okay. No
No,
one's
I don't
gonna.
reckon. I reckon everyone. I reckon a lot
No,
of people know Jackson
people love
Irvine.
Irvine, but people will be he just looks like every run of the mill Australian. Like there are people who would do that. Like we
Fair.
know what he looks like, but my parents wouldn't know what he looks like, but they would
Fair.
know what Sam Kerr looks like or
Yeah.
Mary Fowler looks
Yeah.
like,
Great
and they
shout.
would get swamped. And
Yeah.
the difference is that the players know what the fans want,
Mm.
and the FA listens to the players but not the fans, but they want the fans to do it. So it's
Mm.
this self-fulfilling cycle that just makes every passionate Woso Menso fan feel in Melbourne specifically isolated from
Mm.
a sport that we already feel isolated by, because European people get angry at us for even mentioning the fact that, like, I don't know, you're an Arsenal fan who lives in Melbourne. Why
Why
do
do
you
you
go
call
for
it
this team?
soccer?
Why do I go for Manchester City? It's like because I care. Yeah, it doesn't matter it shouldn't matter where I'm from, because there are more fans outside of the respective country. Yes, I'm not in Manchester week in, week out, but I'm watching at 2 a.m. Are you watching at 2 a.m. when you leave Manchester? That's the point. Yeah. So the care is there. I don't get angry at people for their care, but I do get angry when bad faith actors are in place telling me how football fandom should work, whether I should not be screaming and shouldn't be doing flares. Yeah, I'm not the one pulling the flares, but I'm also not the one complaining when those flares happen, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the key. But that is all we have for a quite aggressive bench warmers awards as we move into the last segment, a quick segment of what would Kang do 35. Yes, 5 and 7 this week. We've combined the song Kang and the Kangmunist Manifesto. Obviously, part 1 to 4 is up on TikTok. You've seen the drill, but now we need a song. We need a song to epitomize the Kangmunist Manifesto. And what better song to parody than the anthem itself, the anthem of El Comunistas in the USSR national anthem. Kang, it's very simple. It's very easy. You know what you're going to get. I'm just going to do the first verse because it's just horrible to do more than
You
that.
should translate it in Russian.
No, I'm not doing that. I am anglicizing this because I mean that's what Kang would do.
True.
That is what Kang would do. I'm only channeling my goat in every way, but I mean there is one thing left that I do have to do, which is get into character. So ultimately, I have to set up in a way that's conducive for that. And you have seen this before. It is the way of the run of the what would Kang do and the Kangmunist Manifesto, but we have added something to it, which is more important. So we've got this. The hair is on the Kangmunist hair, the Kangmunist flag, but now we can add the Kangmunist glasses.
Wow.
It is Michelle live in the flesh. Hello, welcome to soccer. But we are gonna do the anthem, the Kangmunist Manifesto. Here we go. All right, in 3, 2, 1. This is the Kangmunist Manifesto, where we read all the scripture of the do's and the don'ts. Our savior, I believe in young me, myself, and I. 7 rules to live by, and a song every 35. That's all I've got. This week for what would Kang do? And that's all we have for the podcast this week. We are on YouTube and Spotify for full audio and full visual podcasts, respectively. We are on Instagram for all your announcements and stories and nibbles that we see all around the grounds. And we are on TikTok, where we get the most love for our short form content, because we edit, we create, we build whatever content we think the Woso world needs to see, because we cover all of Woso. There's no one covering it like us, because we're all around the grounds, everywhere, every hemisphere, because we're watching football day and night, and we don't just cover every minute of it, every second of it, every hour of it, every day of it. We cover it every week.
Every week?
Every week? Every week. Why'd you slow it down?
You slowed it down. I was
slow it
your
down.
tempo.
No, you. I mean, I'll take it. But that that is all we have for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great week.